Oh yeah.
You should totally start the video like that.
Okay, so we're here. We've got the Razer Blade 15 2019 with the RTX. Is this the 2080 in this one?
Yes.
2080 in this guy. It's just a 0.04 inches thicker, or a ½ millimeter thicker. We've got Battlefield 5 running on RTX right here for us to test out. We can't do any benchmarks with it, but we can just play it and just get an idea for the performance. Now this Razer Blade 15 also happens to have a 240 hertz monitor, which of course we won't be getting 240 frames per second in Battlefield 5, but in other games like Fortnite or PUBG, or depending on the game, you very well might get that kind of FPS performance. Definitely a really good option for any kind of competitive gamers out there that will want to have that ultra high frames per second. Now the 240 hertz model will not be available right away. They're looking to potentially sell it later on in 2019, maybe mid to end of 2019, hopefully. They haven't given a specific date though. I personally am really excited about the idea of a 240 hertz monitor because like that's all I game on at home. So a 240 hertz monitor would be a huge deal overall. A lot of games, even like Fortnite or PUBG, will be CPU bound. You won't always be getting 240 frames per second, even on a desktop with a high-end i9 9900K. But in a lot of the other parts of the map that are not CPU bound, you still will be hitting that 240 frames per second cap, depending on the game. Now, I also want to mention there are a few other manufacturers that are trying to go with 240 hertz options. I know HP is doing that. There's a whole plethora of like 40 new laptops that are coming out. It'll be very interesting to see how this Razer Blade 15 lines up with those ones after all the chips have fallen and everything is finalized, especially in the next few months here. Without further ado, let's go ahead and check out this Battlefield 5 demo. So we got to see the RTX. It's really cool, right? But for me, the main draw of an RTX 2080 isn't the actual RTX ray tracing. It's actually just an increased performance, and that's going to be especially true as laptops are now going to start featuring 240 hertz displays, and you're going to want to be able to push out as many frames per second as possible. Now this thing features an i7-8750H, which is basically like the standard for like the baseline for all gaming laptops right now. Now the main question is how well will this thing be able to cool down an RTX 2080, and I gotta say the performance in Battlefield 5 felt fluid, right? I mean, it's certainly not over 100 frames per second as far as I could tell. Looked more like 60. Now, as far as the externals go, we got two USB Type A's on this side, the power plug. We've got a combination headphone mic jack right here. We've got of course, the individually backlit Chroma keyboard, and this does now feature the symbols as well being backlit. That is one downside of the previous version. You only had like the numbers, for example, on the number keys. Now you've got the @ symbol and exclamation points. Those will also be lit up, which will make it easier to type, especially in darkness, which is a big thumbs up from me. That was one of my complaints about the Razer Blade from last year. Now, we also have a display port, a Kensington lock port, an HDMI port, a USB Type A, and then a USB-C/Thunderbolt 3. This does allow you to hook up to the Razer Core systems for external GPU support. Now we've got an extra large touchpad here. This is a very nice touchpad. I've always had a good experience on the Razer touchpads. The main downside to it being so large is that sometimes you will accidentally touch it a little bit more than a touchpad that might be a little bit smaller, but it's all going to depend on how you type and where you place your hands on the keyboard, and it's really the kind of thing you just got to kind of adjust to. So they're also going to offer a 4K OLED panel, which will have ultra high brightness and much better contrast. This thing looks like you're holding a Galaxy Note 9 in a laptop form factor, and it's really, really stunning. Definitely better overall brightness and contrast than the previous versions of the Razer Blade 15. So really excited about that. I'm really curious how the refresh rate will be. Hopefully it's a quicker refresh rate than the existing 4K panel. So the new 2019 Razer Blade 15 does have Windows Hello, which has an IR sensor that does detect the depth. So ideally you would never be able to fool this with a photograph of the person. You'd have to be a lot more complex to fool it. It would be very interesting to do a test of dressing up a mannequin to look like yourself or something to see if you can fool it, or see if you can dress a friend the same hairstyle or something to make it fool. I don't know. Might have to make a video about that in the future. Overall, I'm really excited about this. There's going to be a plethora of models here. Everything from the base model starting at $1599 with the GTX 1060 from last year as a cheaper option with dual storage, all the way up to this Razer Blade 15 Advanced model, which is going to feature up to the RTX 2080, which is $3,000 for that model. It's going to be really interesting when these things come out for review, and we'll be able to fully test test the thermals on them and the performance and be able to see how much of a difference that RTX 2080 makes, especially compared to like last year's 1070 in the same overall form factor or approximate form factor. And I gotta tell you, even though this thing is 0.04 inches thicker, it's pretty much impossible to tell. Like really hard to tell. I mean, I can't tell a difference. It looks exactly like the last one. Maybe if they were side by side, you might be able to see that it's just a tiny bit different, but it really is a very small difference in size. So stay tuned for my full review of the Razer Blade 15 Advanced. I'll be covering a ton of laptops here at CES, so if you want to check out those videos, be sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and if you enjoyed this one, hit the like button. We'll see you guys in the next one. Brandon, out.